So, what is karma's mind clearing? And for that matter, why karma's mind clearing? Why not just mind clearing? Well, a simple financial fact, there are these companies who go about buying domain names speculatively in the hope of selling them for a small fortune later on. And mind clearing is one of those that they bought. They paid their $5 and they're looking to get, I think, $13,000 for it now. So I just registered karma's mind clearing. Paid my $5 and that was it. Obviously the cost of the mind clearing session would double if I'd bought the old domain just to pay for the domain name, and no, that's nonsense. So what we actually do in the mind clearing sessions, and each one lasts a maximum of 15 minutes, and there are 3 sessions in total to give the full effect. The first one concerns the cerebral cortex. That's this part of the brain that you see here. This is the area of so-called rational thought, of reasoning, of inventiveness, if you like. And this part of the brain is the part of the brain that gets filled up with information, with programs, during the early childhood. See, the child from birth until 6th or 7th birthday is very much like a sponge that just soaks up everything from the environment and says, okay, this is how I've got to be to exist on this level. Quite useful in many, many ways, because that's how a child learns their language, and why a very young child can learn many languages at the same time. But there's a lot of other stuff gets imposed upon it. So cultural expectations, religious expectations, all sort of things which demean the dignity of a human being. So we know the sort of thing, you're not good enough, girls aren't as good as boys, and you'll never amount to anything, life is very difficult, you've got to work hard to exist, you've got to serve others, don't be yourself, conform. And this makes it very, very difficult for the natural programs, the natural life programs, which are overall to do with freedom and abundance, and all sorts of nice things like that. So what we do is, we go into the cerebral cortex and we delete these destructive programs. That's phase 1. What that does is to set your natural programs, your natural abundance, your natural freedom, free to do what they're supposed to do. So it's not as though we actually do this for you, and I say we because there's a team working with me on this. It sets you free to choose to be who you really are. It doesn't do it for you. No one can be who you are. Only you can do it. All we do is remove the barriers. So this brings us then to the second phase, which concerns this area of the brain, which has to do with the access to your feelings, amongst other things. And the area of the brain behind it, the cerebellum, or they sometimes call the reptile brain, because it's the oldest part of the brain. This is where all the old traumas live, are stored, or whatever you want to call it. And what we do with the second session, we separate the feelings from these old traumas. That is, because the traumas then no longer have access to your feelings, they can no longer self-replicate. You know how life goes around in circles and you seem to have no control of it. It's because of these old traumas, they have direct access to your feelings and they self-replicate. We separate them so they no longer have this access, And then your feelings, your power is available to do what you want to do. The third phase concerns the part of the spinal cord which connects the whole spinal cord with the rest of the brain. Now this, in many spiritual teachings, especially Kriya Yoga, is called the center of Christ consciousness or Krishna consciousness or divine consciousness. Whatever you want to call it, it doesn't really matter. A name is no more than a name and rose by any other name, as Shakespeare said. And what we do here is we open this center and then connect it through the feeling center, through the cerebral cortex, to reconnect you with your overself, your higher self, your angel self, your whole self. It doesn't matter what you call it, it's the same thing. And because we've removed the junk from the cerebral cortex and the feeling center, it now becomes possible to reconnect your earth self with your whole self, and that makes your life very, very different, because you are now free to express who you really are. And that is the purpose and the effect of mind clearing. It sets you free to be who you are. It doesn't and can't do this for you. The road sweeper is not the man who drives the car. It's as simple as that. You're in charge. You drive. I just clear the way for you. Thank you.